I'm coming in this with an open mind, and let's see what he says.
Transferred from FTX wallet.
Why is he smiling? Holy shit.
Transferred.
He's literally what the... Holy sh...
I was nervous about what was going to happen.
Nervous? Nervous of the fraud?
If you rewind even a few days...
When you say you were nervous, you were nervous the company was going to go under, you were nervous you were going to get caught. What were you nervous about?
It's literally saying what I was thinking.
like.
And the host has already caught him lying.
Sam, help me with this. On November 7th, you tweeted and then deleted a tweet
Tweeted and deleted.
that said, quote, FTX has enough to cover all client holdings. We don't invest client assets. Even
That's a lie.
treasuries. We've been processing all
That's a lie.
withdrawals and will continue to be.
That's a lie.
Unquote.
Because he
then
deleted
deleted that tweet. And literally just moments ago, you told me it was on November 7th that things took a turn.
Yep.
You're telling the truth?
So things were changing.
This host is just...
And,
I love the host.
when you look at...
Hey everyone, welcome back to Tech with Lawrence. I haven't done a video in a very long time, 2 years now. But because this FTX thing is all over my YouTube feed, all my news feed, all my favorite YouTubers are talking about it, and the news even made it to ABC here in Australia, I just can't get away from it. So I can't contain myself anymore. Let's talk about it. FTX. This video is SBF's first interview since the collapse of his billion-dollar company FTX. Just for context, I've seen Theranos and Elizabeth Holmes, I've seen WeWork and Adam Newman, I've seen all of Cold Fusion's videos. So I have a very strong opinion. Not just that, but my real work involves working at startups. So my point of view might be quite unique. I share similar viewpoints to Coffeezilla, and I have the same approach as well.
People just decide to put $200 million in the box.
He literally just described a Ponzi scheme.
So let's go. Let's see if SBF is the same as Elizabeth Holmes and Adam Newman, or if he's actually different.
Please welcome back to the stage, Andrew Ross Sorkin.
FTX was once valued at $32 billion. It's now effectively worthless in bankruptcy. We're going to talk about that and whether investors will ever get money back. In the wake of the collapse, Bitcoin fell to its lowest price in 2 years, and on Monday, BlockFi, which had been bailed out by FTX, filed for bankruptcy. The rapid fall of this empire has left so many questions about crypto, about the future of it, and whether it can be trusted again.
So I will say this, crypto as a technology, so if you're familiar with blockchain and the actual technology with it, crypto is fine. It's decentralized. What's not fine is FTX being an exchange is a centralized platform where everyday people access it to access crypto. So FTX itself is a centralized platform. The crypto industry with blockchain and a decentralized system is fine. The collapse is because of FTX. Not the collapse of crypto. So I wanted everyday people to know the difference. This is a collapse of a company, not crypto itself.
Sam Bankman-Fried joins us right now, live from the Bahamas. I appreciate your willingness to have this conversation.
He's very brave because he's been accused, and there's lots of evidence that this is a fraud. So him speaking publicly, live, is actually a huge risk for him. This could either be the Elizabeth Holmes moment with Mad Money, where she flat out lied publicly, and that was used against her in court.
This kind of attention and scrutiny, what do you think's going on here?
This is what happens when you work to change things. And first they think you're crazy, then they fight you, and then all of a sudden you change the world.
Or this can be something else, maybe something we haven't seen before. Let's find out.
A lot of people have been hurt. There are people who are angry. I just want everybody in the audience to know that I received thousands of letters and emails, even in the past couple of days, from a lot of these people who feel like they're victims. And some of them...
I will correct this. They are victims. If they lost money, no matter how much money, they are victims. And just for context, I lost 90K. So before FTX, I actually lost 90K to exchange called Quadriga CX. I've been receiving letters of bankruptcy from EY, who's looking after it. But yeah, that's my experience and my background with crypto. I used to mine it. Enough about me. I lost 90K, but some of these people maybe lost millions.
One of the letters I got, I want to read to you, Sam, because it's from a gentleman who said that he lost his life savings.
Life savings.
And the subject line is, Sam Bankman-Fried stole $2 million from me. It says, Andrew, Can you please ask SBF why he decided to steal my life savings
That's fucked.
and the $10 billion more from customers to give to his hedge fund, Alameda? Can you ask him why his hedge fund was leveraging long all of these S coins? I'm going to keep it polite for the kids.
S coins.
Please ask him if he thinks,
Shit coins.
thinks what happened was fraud. These are the kinds of letters that I've been getting repeatedly over the past several days. What do you tell this man?
Yeah.
All right. First of all, SBF's his body language isn't encouraging. He's looking down a lot.
I mean, I'm deeply sorry about what happened.
Deeply sorry. That's not enough.
Here's, the long and short of what happened. And I'll start by saying,
He's fluffing around. And deeply sorry for losing someone's life savings is not enough. You can be sorry, but what's the consequence, right? He's very hesitant
international platform.
on what he's saying.
As the letter says, Alameda Research did have a long position. And the international platform, it's a margin trading platform. It's a derivatives platform. It's a platform where all the clients were, going on, placing something as collateral and using that to put on a position, whether that's a futures position, a spot position, a borrow.
Right. So why is he describing his financial product? The question is, he's not answering the question directly. He's trying to explain Alameda and explain FTX's financial products, which isn't what the question's asking.
Storing was the collateral. And as I try and reconstruct this,
reconstruct what? You don't reconstruct anything. You talk about what has happened. The fact that you have to reconstruct means, to me anyway, this is personal thought. It means you're trying to spin whatever happened into like a new narrative. So that's not a good sign. His body language isn't a good sign. Not just that, what he's talking about, it's not great because he's describing a financial product. The thing is, let's keep this simple. People had used FTX to hold their cryptocurrency, and that cryptocurrency, or even hold cash, whatever it was, and they had the right to withdraw that money at any time. And the fact that they can't because FTX didn't have the money is the actual problem. And SBF and his group of friends are being accused of using customer money to do investments through Alameda Research. And that's wrong because that money should be untouched completely. It should be guaranteed that the customers can withdraw at any time. Like, this stuff is obvious. So I don't know what or why he's explaining the financial products. I guess we'll find out why.
Limited access to data, but my view of it,
his view,
from what I have been able to see, over the course of the last year, there were a number of market crashes that...
All right, first of all, none of this matters. Again, what matters is the customers withdrawing their money from FTX. Nothing to do with Alameda, because they may or may not have used Alameda, right? Doesn't matter because both have collapsed. And both of them shouldn't be linked. Like, what happened at Alameda shouldn't affect customers at FTX. It's just plain and simple, shouldn't. You shouldn't be going bankrupt. That should not happen in the first place.
Drove the value of those assets down and the leverage up. I think it was,
this is
to
not
my
a
knowledge, still
good
under
response.
2x leverage, in a few days, all out, PR assault, which led to a total market collapse in a pretty short period of time, no bid-side liquidity.
In 1 day, 2 days, a week?
I think more than $10 billion wiped off in the matter of days.
That does not happen.
And realistically speaking...
That doesn't happen unless there's fraud. Like, that's just plain and simple. It just doesn't happen.
No ability for FTX to be able to liquidate that position and generate everything that was owed from it.
But I think the bigger question is where Alameda got the loan from, which is to say there's a view that this is about commingling of funds. Right. And in that letter that I just read you, this gentleman actually copy and pasted the terms of service for FTX into the email. And I just want to read you this. It says, none of the digital assets in your account are the property of or shall or may be loaned to FTX Trading. FTX Trading does not represent or treat digital assets in users' accounts as belonging to FTX Trading. So how is it possible that Alameda
got access to the funds?
This loan of such a large size?
So there's that piece from the terms of service, but there were a number of other parts of the terms of service and a number of other parts of the platform on top of that. There is the borrow lending facility, where users were lending billions of dollars of assets to each other, collateralized by assets on the exchange. You had obviously futures contracts where there are leveraged positions.
Okay, he's just describing financial products in FTX, but that's not the question.
That these are positions where FTX could, if it needed to, margin call those positions and close them down in time such that it would cover all of those, all those shorts, all those liabilities. Obviously, that wasn't the case here.
That's obvious, but not every customer used those products, right? So,
and that's a massive failure of oversight of risk management, of diffusion of responsibility from myself running FTX.
But just make this very straight. Was there commingling of funds? That's what it appears like. It appears like there's been a genuine commingling of the funds that are of FTX customers that were not supposed to be commingled with your separate firm.
Exactly.
I didn't knowingly commingle funds. And
I didn't
again,
know
one piece of this, you have the margin trading. You have, customers borrowing from each other. Alameda is one of those.
Again,
I was
that's
frankly
a financial
surprised by
product.
how big Alameda's position was, which points to another failure of oversight.
Wait. Isn't he an owner of Alameda Research? Wasn't he a founder of that company as well? And of course, they're run by the same group of friends, so they'll be very close. Like, they'll literally next to each other. They'll be exchanging information every single day. So him not knowing I would call it out as a blatant lie. And the fact that he's lying right now, 9 minutes in, I don't know if the rest of the hour do him any good.
I wasn't trying to commingle funds.
I wasn't. So
the Wall Street Journal reported that Carolyn Ellison,
he's not assuming responsibility.
told Alameda staffers that Alameda used FTX client funds to cover loans that were being recalled because of the Luna-triggered credit crunch. Carolyn says that she, Sam, Gary were aware of this.
She said that
How do you
in an
square
interview.
that
Interesting.
with what you originally said over Twitter, that this was an $8 billion accounting mistake?
There is no such thing as an $8 billion accounting mistake. That doesn't happen. Again, it doesn't happen if it's not fraud.
So,
just my opinion.
I'll point to two things, and I can only talk about it from what I know, from what I knew. And a lot of this is reconstructing it over the last month.
Reconstructing it. You don't reconstruct what has happened. You
I
don't.
don't get access to data, but what it seems like happened is in the middle of the year, a lot for Alameda's account there, which substantially under-displayed the size of that position, and so.
What does having that position matter? Because if we go straight to the point, you shouldn't be having those positions at all, using customers' money. That's the real crux of it. It's not whether or not Alameda shouldn't have that large position. It's whether or not you used customers' money to make money, right? Without them knowing. As stated in his own policy, apparently he's saying there's other policies that, FTX doesn't do that.
That's one of the reasons that I was surprised when we dug into everything at how big that position had become.
But would you agree that
it doesn't make sense how he was surprised, because as that event happened, he looked to sell FTX because he knew it was insolvent. He looked to sell it to Binance, and that was happening on the spot within one day. So for him to say he doesn't know the financial positions is literally a lie. There's no other way to describe it. Like, if you didn't know, why would you try sell your own company to your competitor? It's just common sense. Like, I just can't. Like, it's already 12 minutes. It's not. This is not good. This is cringy to watch.
Of FTX International and Alameda than previously understood. Alameda is a wholly separate entity. They're different offices, like different principal offices. We don't have any shared personnel. We're also not the same company. We not all are under the same corporate umbrella or anything like that. And yet it seems like Alameda people were living in the same penthouse where you and Greg will be right now all together.
They're just friends running a collective group.
Most of Alameda was not
Most.
there. I don't live there now, but or not there now. I have not lived. But in terms of positions and balances, it was a much larger fraction. I hadn't been looking at.
He literally stated what he just said a few minutes ago, and he's just repeating himself. This is not a good conversation for SBF because he's just trying to explain his narrative rather than answer what the host is alluding to. It's not good.
That's a pretty big over.
But Sam,
He keeps saying it's
the question is whether you were supposed
exactly
to
the
have
question.
access
The
to
question.
these accounts to begin with. You know, if I worked at a bank and was a bank teller, and I decided to leave the bank at the end of the evening and take the cash that I ostensibly had access
He's shaking.
to, even if I
SBF
intended
is
to bring
shaking.
it back to the bank later, even with more money to give them back, I still stole the money.
Perfect. Bingo. This is exactly the question and the concept explained very simply by the host. It is still stealing because he took the money, even if you made more money and returned the same amount. It is still stealing. This is the very thing that what happened. So he took the money, instead of making money and being able to return it, he lost a lot of money and then he couldn't liquidate it. So that's how it collapsed. Well, that's one of the factors how it collapsed. And the end principle is he took that money, meaning he stole it and lost it.
Look, I wasn't running Alameda.
He wasn't
know
running?
exactly what was going on.
He didn't
I
know?
didn't know the size of their position.
Okay, so he's throwing his ex-girlfriend under the bus to save himself and his image. So we don't know what's the truth. He could very much be telling the truth here, but I find it highly unlikely that you gave your ex-girlfriend, who had no experience, to be the CEO of this company you started, which you own, by the way, and for you to come publicly and say you don't know what's happening there, and now you're throwing your ex-girlfriend under the bus, it's actually very painful to watch.
A lot of these are things I've learned over the last month that I got, Mark. That's a pretty big oversight that I wasn't more aware.
He keeps saying it's
I
an
think I
oversight.
was,
He's repeated
scared
that
of,
many times.
I was nervous that I didn't have real oversight, or that, and
He
really shouldn't have meant that I
repeated
failed to point anyone
oversight like
to be
4 or
in
5
charge
times
of
already.
That oversight, that relationship.
Another oversight,
But
right.
I haven't been running Alameda. I haven't been
Okay.
thinking about.
Okay, he's talked too long. The first 3 sentences he said is he doesn't know what happened in Alameda, and the last minute or two, he's just been blabbing on about the same thing, and at the end, he's saying he's not responsible for Alameda. So that's the entire 2 minutes just there. He's just throwing his ex-girlfriend under the bus.
But as CEO of FTX, it was still my duty to make sure that someone was doing killers.
You owned it.
I was a large owner of it. That is true, and I
love this
had
host.
a lot of exposure on that side.
I love the host.
But
So why wouldn't you have been focused on it if in fact that's actually where the profits were?
Well, I don't know that that's where, I mean, lots of traders had open margin positions on FTX where they would have borrows of assets, where they would be short some asset against.
He's explaining the financial
collateral.
product again.
That being said,
That's
again, looking
we're
through this
asking.
now, I think that position size for Alameda got substantially larger over the course of 2022, and that it was, I think, substantially larger by October of 2022, probably by July of 2022 than it had been in April.
But it sounds like it's fair to say that there was always a connection between Alameda and FTX, and almost, I mean, not almost, but from the very, very beginning, and then it never really stopped.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it had been, in some ways, reducing. I mean, when you scroll
Reducing,
back
so
to
he's not
2019,
denying that.
Alameda,
He's literally not denying what the host said, that it's always been connecting.
it was down to 2% of volume. We had a lot of backstop liquidity providers, but it still had a big margin position on it. And
It's repeating the same thing.
I was
for the
failing
last
to pay
10 minutes.
nearly enough attention to positions and positional risk. And I also, frankly, made a mistake
His leg
that
is shaking.
I feel pretty embarrassed to have made.
Embarrassed?
I mean, a
You
lot
should
of
feel
things
more
are,
than
but
embarrassed.
I substantially underestimated what the scale of the market crash could
You
look
lost
like.
people's
and
life savings.
what the speed of it could look like, and how correlated it would be.
But that just suggests that you were just hoping perhaps hoping against hope that
Hoping
this
against
would all
hope.
work out and that nobody therefore would realize what this commingling was all about?
So it's not how I viewed it. And in particular, again,
How he viewed it.
most of the firms.
Okay, I'm gonna say this. Like, no matter how you view it, from whatever angle or perspective, the end story is you lost people's life savings, right? On the scale of what, 10 billion, that number is unfathomable to me. The fact that one of your customers lost 2 million and that's his life savings. Imagine 20, 30 years of work all gone like that because he used your exchange, right? That's not right. That itself should not happen at all.
Had margin positions. Most of the firms had burrows on FTX. The problem here, this was too big. It was. I was surprised by the
But
size
it's not
of
just
what
too
it was.
big. It's assets that, look, it sounds like there were assets that may have been allowable to be loaned.
Yep, which is the financial product.
But then there were assets that weren't allowable
Exactly.
to be loaned, no?
This host is
So-
straight to the point. I love it.
I'm still looking into the details of some pieces of this, but I do think that
Honestly, if he's still looking into the details, he shouldn't be speaking about it at all. It's not good.
in addition
It's not good
to,
for him.
what I had seen is sort of law of the standard burrows here.
If
that,
he was telling the truth.
when we scroll back to 2018,
Scroll back.
or to
2018.
2019, I guess.
What?
FTX didn't have bank accounts. It didn't have any bank accounts.
That's no
globally.
excuse.
We were trying to get them.
Still no
It
excuse.
took
It's
us
not hard to get a
while,
bank
took us a
account.
few years. And
Few years.
there are customers who wanted to wire money to FTX. And so I think in the meantime, some of them were wiring money to Alameda Research to get credited on FTX.
Okay, I don't
And,
believe that at all.
I think
it's
that
not,
was just
it's not hard to set up a bank account. The fact that they're wiring money to Alameda first implies that, him and his group set it up that way. That's like the simplest answer rather than say, hey, we couldn't get a bank account. To me, it just doesn't make sense. You can walk to a local branch and open a business account just like that within like a day.
substantial sum. And I think that the FTX's internal accounting did correctly, effectively try to debit Alameda for those funds, but it didn't happen in the primary account. And so it didn't happen, it
Why not?
created a discrepancy between the display of the account and what was really going on there. And and I'm still looking into exactly how that worked mechanically. But that did make that position size substantially larger than I thought, and I
Still
think then what
talking
you would
about
have gotten
the
from,
position size.
So when do you think you knew there was a problem?
So, the time that I really knew there was a problem was November 6th. By late on November 6th, we were putting together all of the data, putting together all the information that obviously I should have put together
Years
way
ago.
earlier. That obviously should have been part of the dashboards I was always looking at.
I honestly
And,
think he knew what was happening.
My
opinion, though. There's no way you manage that much money and not know what's happening in your own company. It's not a mistake.
because I was nervous about what was going to happen.
Nervous. Nervous of the
There. You know,
fraud?
if you rewind even a few days,
When you say you were nervous, you were nervous the company was going to go under, you were nervous you were going to get caught. What were you nervous about?
It's literally saying what I was thinking.
on November 6th
I love
or
this
before
host.
Either.
Either. So I think before then, what I was nervous about was that basically, and when I started to,
He's blabbling
think,
way too much.
a bit more about
just
this.
answer the question.
I didn't think it was existential for FTX. I didn't think it was going to lead to a massive loss for FTX.
Right. He says that, yet during that time, again, I'm repeating myself, he looked to sell his company. He looked to sell FTX to Binance.
You had told investors and regulators that you were not involved in Alameda decision-making, and yet, in the case, Alameda invested $1.15 billion in Genesis digital assets without your consultation or approval. That's the question. And my understanding is you also served on the board of Genesis Digital Assets.
He's on the board.
And so I'm trying to understand how you wouldn't have been involved.
He
with
is
Alameda.
definitely involved if he's on the board.
I was somewhat involved with venture investing, and that was
Okay.
done out of a separate entity
Okay.
than any of Alameda's proprietary
make
trading,
sense.
than its activity on FTX or other crypto exchanges. But I was consulted on some of its VC investments, including with GDA.
So he says he wasn't, but now he says
What
he
are your
is.
lawyers telling you right now?
Yeah, this is not good.
Are they suggesting this is
Like, honestly, it's not even a deposition. This is literally just he's volunteering to come and speak. And he's saying a lot of things that don't align with what he said in the past. So it is not good for him. So I don't understand
a good idea
why
for
he's
you to
here.
be speaking?
Exactly
They're
what
very much not.
the host is saying.
I mean, the classic advice, right? Don't say anything.
There's a reason for that. It's because whatever you say here will be used, once he gets charged. Honestly, it's been half an hour. I'm going to call it now. This is the Theranos Elizabeth Holmes moment with Mad Money.
This is what happens when you work to change things. And first they think you're crazy, then they fight you, and then all of a sudden you change the world. And
This is someone who thinks they can fool the public, change the narrative of what happened just by appearing publicly and talk about his version, which isn't true, or might be true in some aspects, but not the whole truth. This is that defining moment because the host literally called him out for lying, and this just showed that he did lie in the past. Now he's saying something different. It's
Recede into a hole. And it's not who I am. I mean, it's not who I want to be. I think I have a duty to talk to people. I have a duty to explain what happened. And I think I have a duty to do everything I can to try and do what's right. If there is anything I can do to try and help customers out here. And
there isn't much for him left to do other than if he can actually return everyone's money, which he can't. So the other question is whether there was fraud committed and whether or not his actions were criminal. That's literally what's left to actually do. So the only thing for him to do is to tell the truth. But that's him, admitting he was wrong. And then if there's a crime that happened, he'll just have to go to prison, serve his time. That's all that's left to do because whatever happened has happened. You can't spin the truth from any other perspective. The hard truth is people lost their life savings, 20, 30 years of work,
I don't see what
and they won't be getting the money back. That's the hard truth.
In a room pretending the outside world doesn't exist.
You're in the Bahamas right now. Are you in the Bahamas because you think you can't leave?
No, I'm in the Bahamas. I have been in the Bahamas.
All right, I see where this is going. Like, obviously the host will invite him back to the US. And let's see his reason for not returning to the US, because if he came back to the US, more than likely he'll be arrested. So yes, let's see his response about coming back.
I've been running FTX from the Bahamas. I've been running. I'm looking to be helpful anywhere I can with any of the global entities that, that would want my help.
Your help
Do you
is
think
to
you could come
tell
to the
the
United
truth.
States or go elsewhere?
To my knowledge, I could.
Would you?
Have you thought about doing that?
I love
I've
the
thought
host.
about it, and
How concerned are you about criminal liability at this point?
so I don't
Straight
think
to
that,
the point.
I mean, obviously, I don't personally think that I have, but I think the real answer is that's not.
The real answer?
Sounds weird to
Well,
say.
wait, the real answer. So does that mean all this time he hasn't been saying the real answers? This is.
But I think the real answer is that's not what I'm focusing on. It's
Yeah, so it seems he hasn't come to terms with what he did. The fact that he's not even thinking about criminal liability just shows that he thinks he's not a criminal for losing people's life savings. Yes, I'm going to keep repeating that because 2 mil is a lot. I'm sure other people lost even more money.
there's going to be a time and a place for me to
For him to
sort of think about
what he did?
myself and my own future, but I don't think this is it. Like, right now, I mean, look, I've had a bad month. This has not been
More than a bad month. I don't think he realizes. I'm pretty sure the journalists there aren't laughing with him. Everyone's laughing at him. I don't know if he realizes this. This person seems a little bit narcissistic. I'm not a psychologist, but the fact that he's up there thinking he can fool everyone by telling lies or spinning the truth is very, yeah.
That's not what matters here. Like, what matters
Yes,
here is
what matters.
the millions of customers. What matters here is all the stakeholders in FTX.
Right, you say that now, but, you know, when you ran the company, that didn't matter, right? Because if that actually mattered, you would have done risk management. Not just risk management, you wouldn't have set up a fraud from the start. It's just, this is not on. Like, this whole thing, it's been 35 minutes. This whole response by SBF is not good. It's like a child getting caught taking candy out of the candy jar, to be honest.
Who got hurt and trying to do everything I can to help them out.
He's trying to seem like the good
As
guy.
long as that's the case, like,
Honestly, if this is my opinion, if he wanted to be the good guy, he'll just tell the truth, you know, show what happened, because the person who's looking after FTX now, like, all the records are deleted. If he actually wants to be helpful and truthful, just tell the truth. Like, it's that simple. But in fact, he's spinning the truth, and the host has already caught him lying. Like, literally, just then.
I don't think that you know what happens with me is the important part of that, and I don't think that's what it makes sense for me to be focusing on.
Sam, help me with this. On November 7th, you tweeted and then deleted a tweet
Tweeted and deleted.
that said, quote, FTX has enough to cover all client holdings. We don't invest client assets. Even
That's a lie.
treasuries. We've been processing all
That's a lie.
withdrawals and will continue to be,
That's a lie.
unquote.
Because he
You then
deleted it.
that tweet. And literally just moments ago, you told me it was on November 7th that things took a turn.
Yep.
You telling the truth?
So things were changing,
This host is just,
and you know,
I love the host.
when you look at November 6th,
Very well done.
I was feeling nervous, but I felt like things were probably going to end up okay. We still had, I mean, you know, assets way larger than liabilities. By November 8th, I did not think the odds were that high that we were going to be able to meet all client demand, and I was worried that there was going to be a substantial liquidity shortfall. November
Wasn't it
7th, that
6
was sort of
billion
the transition
liquidity
day, and,
shortfall?
You know,
That-
even just to start
That's not even close. Like, 6 billion is a lot of money to be
versus the end of
different.
November.
Was it
7th,
6 or 8?
I felt
Can't remember.
fair. You know, I remember trying to think about, feeling conflicted about what to say, and trying to think about what I could say
What
that
to
I
say?
believed. And
What to say? Wait, what? What to say that he will believe? What? Wait. I need to go back to what he just said. Like, he's...
I can't remember exactly what I was thinking or when I sent that, but
why he
you
said
know, I
that.
remember trying to think about, feeling conflicted about what to say, and trying to think about what I could say that I believed, and
What he could say that he could believe. Holy... This is... Alright, we just... If that doesn't speak volumes, I don't know what else. That's literally the quote.
I don't remember exactly when I deleted it, but I remember at some point it's like, ah, it shouldn't be
Well, at
there.
least he
Let me ask you a
admitted
different
he
question, 'cause
deleted
This is all
it.
around the same time. The New York Times reported that $515 million was suspiciously, in quote, transferred from FTX wallets after...
Why is he smiling? Holy shit. Why is he
At
smiling?
some point it's like, ah, it shouldn't be there.
Let me ask you a different question, because this is all around the same time.
He's got that duping smile. You know when someone's been caught? It's like my son. When I catch him, he smiled when he did something
Times
wrong.
reported that $515 million was suspiciously, in quote, transferred. From
He's literally What the? Holy sh! Oh my god! If this is the screenshot that I'm gonna use in my thumbnail, this guy's smiling.
FTX wallets after
Yeah.
the bankruptcy filing.
Yes.
And there have been accusations that this
Did no one else in the audience like what the fuck?
is
Holy!
the assistance, effectively, of theft. Where did that money go?
He's smiling.
So I will caveat this by saying at that point, I was being cut off from systems. And so
Cut off.
I'll give you the answer to the extent that I know it. I believe that a few different things happened.
Alright, there's no way you'll be cut off from the system. You built the platform. If not you, your co-founder. Like, you guys know the system inside out. How I'll know? Because when you build a platform yourself, you know what's happening. He might not be a coder, but I'm sure his co-founder, whoever it is, has. And again, you know, they're all friends. They know what's happening. Friends keep each other updated, 100%. And no one goes rogue within a group, especially if you're doing a business. And this is just from experience. And if you do go rogue and you do your own thing instead of the group interests, the business itself just won't work. He won't be cut off from access.
Crypto ultimately is actually about trust. It's about not having to trust others, frankly. It's supposed to be a trustless system. That's why you trust it so much, supposedly. But it seems like when you read the stories, it sounds like a bunch of kids who were on Adderall having a sleepover party.
I mean,
It does look that way.
look, I screwed up. Like,
He keeps talking about he screwed
I
up.
was CEO. I was the CEO of FTX. And I mean, I'd say this again and again, that means I had a responsibility. That means that I was responsible ultimately.
All right, my work
for us
is
to make
done.
things, and I mean, I didn't. Like, we messed up big.
But there were people, though,
but-
who were telling you needed more
but-
compliance, no?
There were, but I
what?
think that compliance,
You didn't think?
we
was
were
running a
spending an
scam.
enormous amount of our energy on compliance. We were
All I'm going to say is, if it wasn't a scam, people would not have lost money that they deposited it in. That's the simple truth. You know, sometimes the truth is so simple. You don't lose billions of dollars for no reason. He must have lost it during a trade with Alameda and couldn't return the money. And it doesn't matter if FTT went down in price. The fact that it shouldn't have been used as collateral in the first place, because as we all know through various videos, FTT is a coin he printed by himself, and anyone can make up a cryptocurrency. If you know how to code and you can do a few smart contracts, you can even get it up on the Ethereum blockchain if you want it as well. Literally anyone can create their crypto. What he did is, it's still there. It's in plain sight. There's no excuse for losing people's life savings, especially if they only deposited on his exchange. You know, I can't repeat this more. They just left it there and they can't withdraw it back. That's literally the scam. That's literally what's wrong. You know, it's not that he couldn't return the money, blah, blah, blah. He shouldn't be accessing or using that funds for anything else. And that's where a company like FTX, which is a centralized platform, it's very different to actual blockchain technology, which is decentralized, completely decentralized. You know, all the accounts, all the transitions are publicly available on Ethereum blockchain or the Bitcoin blockchain. You know, I got screwed over by Quadriga CX. Back then I was mining and all I was using Quadriga CX for was holding my Ethereum so that I can convert back into fiat currency into my PayPal. And back then I had a few choices. I had Kraken and Binance and Quadriga CX. I went with Quadriga CX because it had an option to pay PayPal. Anyhow, if you want to see that video, how I lost about 90k, it's probably worth more than that. Leave a comment below. I'll think about talking about it. We're towards the tail end
where I think
this.
I think when you look at FTX Japan, which I think is fully solvent, which I think could make all customers whole tomorrow if it were, if you know, the
if it,
sort of,
you know, if it what?
relevant teams were to allow it to.
Why does he keep diverting towards other people if others allowed it to? How about the fact that he tried to sell the whole thing to Binance? Where's that? You know, he knew it wasn't solvent. That's why he tried to sell it. And then declaring bankruptcy is where it's actually insolvent. Like, he knows. The fact that he keeps spinning it back on others, saying, hey, it's not me not being able to make customers whole again. It's other people, regulators, or whoever's in charge now. It's not good. He's not assuming what he's done
I
or
think
what his
that
group
a
has
lot
done.
of-
I wouldn't squarely blame just him. It's his entire friendship group. Whether or not he masterminded the whole thing, we won't know. Right now, we don't know what the truth is. Based so far, 50 something minutes, I don't think he's telling the truth. There's too many conflicting things. Even the host, Andrew Ross Sorkin, called him out on his lies on the spot as well. Like, this is amazing to see.
Important area that we completely failed on, and that
Keeps
was
talking about him
risk.
failing.
That
Yeah.
was risk management. That
Was
was
that risk
customer
management or
position risk.
fraud?
and frankly, conflict of interest risk. And
wait,
they're-
conflict of interest risk. Think about that. That doesn't even make sense to me. Like, there's either yes, there's a conflict of interest, or there isn't. There is no in between, so there is no risk involved there. It's that was a dumb statement.
In 2018, asked me, why am I starting to build out FTX? What's the point of it? And what I would have said was, look, the existing crypto derivatives exchanges have large risk management failures that every day.
Right, risk management. Yeah, Quadriga CX went down because the CEO was a scammer. And he was actually smart. Like, he deleted himself. So yeah, I'm very curious to make that video because Quadriga CX CEO and founder, he died apparently. No one believes it. But this CEO, he's still around. Look, he's still there. He's live on on New York Times. Where Quadriga CX's CEO got away with it, this person is still here, face in front of everyone. So it's very interesting to see.
That are being lost by customers because of risk management failures.
Right, risk management. If I were to start a crypto exchange, I would just want it to be legitimate. That's all. Like, it just needs to be legitimate, and then the crypto exchange itself can make a lot of money through transactions, right? Which is what FTX originally had. Just opinion now. I think he saw it as an opportunity. If you have that much funds to manage, of course you can use that money, make trades, hopefully good trades, and make even more profit from it. So I think using customer funds to do that is the illegal part, which he doesn't think it's wrong because apparently, I don't know why he thinks it's not wrong. And yes, while banks may do that, banks are often backed by the federal government or the government of that country. So banks have no issues. And maybe somewhere in the disclaimers of using a bank account, they do say they do that. What is wrong here is FTX said they don't do that. Now he's gone 180 and said there's other policies that might state that they do that, which is completely just 180 from his own policy. I only use the centralized platform as a means of convenience, but because I got scammed and now FTX is gone, we're uncovering that it is more than likely, it is a Ponzi scheme. There might actually be an opportunity there. But then there's Binance that exists as well, Kraken as well. I'm sure there's other exchanges that are legit, but it just goes to show that there is demand for a legitimate crypto exchange that can convert to fiat currency.
Because of risk management blowouts.
Still
And
talking about risk
that needs
management.
To be, there were
All right.
oversight failures, transparency failures, reporting, like so many
Everything,
things we should have had in place.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of it was on the risk management side.
Let me ask you about
rather-
that,
yeah.
which is
Still
we had
talking
Larry
about
Fink here
risk
today,
management.
and he had a stake in FTX, and Sequoia, and Paradigm, and some
Sequoia
very
as
big
well. Yeah,
venture
very big
capital firms
VCs.
had given you money. And I'm curious if they ever asked you questions about this risk management and whether they bear any responsibility for what clearly now appears, and you're saying, was at minimum a lack of oversight, if not something much worse.
I don't think they bear responsibility. I mean, like
They
when you
trusted
look at-
him. The VCs
you put
trusted him.
yourself- You put yourself in the eyes of an investor, of a venture capital
Here
firm.
we go.
What you're thinking about primarily is upside.
Upside.
Right, what you're thinking about primarily is investing in a private company and thinking, might this 3x, might this 5x, might this even 10x?
Yeah, he's stating
on
the
upside
obvious.
cases. And yeah, there's some chance that it will go down. There's some chance that maybe it will go down to zero.
Yes.
But that's counterbalanced by the upside.
Yeah, by some of
propositions
the
here.
companies' upside,
And-
other companies'
And so most
upside.
of what
Yeah.
they were focused on was
The upside.
You know, I think like what might FTX become? What's the pathway to get from here to there? You know, what would it take?
So he's saying that those VCs that invested in him were too focused on the upside and that they didn't do their due diligence. And if, a VC doesn't do their due diligence, I can't say it properly, it just means, if they don't do it properly, it just means that they trusted him, like completely. So either way, it's not the VC's fault. It comes back to him. They trusted him with that much money. From my knowledge, it was a lot of money in the hundreds of millions. And yeah, he has nothing to say. Like there's nothing.
What are the missing pieces? Rather than
He's just
at the
blabbling
point where you're dwelling on all of the various
about
precise
nothing.
downside scenarios and risks for
Still talking about risk.
prospective venture investment, that means you're not investing. Like, if that's where your head's at, you know, if you think the odds are that that's where things are going to end up, why would you do that investment?
Can I ask you about the drugs? You have tweeted about it. Caroline has tweeted about it. Others have tweeted about
psychedelics. I
uppers
saw
and
that.
downers, and all sorts of things. There have been pictures taken of something called MSAM, which apparently increases
MSAM.
levels of dopamine to the brain. It's actually for Parkinson's. Were you taking that as a patch?
I've been prescribed various things at various times to help with focus and concentration.
That's fair enough.
and-
Like, I don't do it, but I've heard some psychedelics can help you focus while you work. And again, it's unproven, untested. There's no scientific support for that. There's no recommendation by the public. But yeah, I've heard people use it. I've heard some executives use it from all ages, not just our age or younger. It's older executives as well. It's like an unspoken sort of culture
I
or
think they have done that.
unspoken
I
theory.
haven't felt
I may have been unfocused in this last moment because I actually wanted to follow up on the question when we were talking about venture capitalists.
Venture capital, yeah.
Sequoia and Paradigm invested in you, but there have now been questions about the fact that you invested in them,
Oh,
and whether these
interesting.
were what some people describe in the business round-trip deals. Can you speak to that?
I haven't heard of that.
I mean, I think well after they had invested in FTX, I don't know the details, but I think
He doesn't know the
there may have
details.
been a small investment into some of their funds. I think, you know, was something that we did because we believed in what they were doing. It seemed like a good opportunity, and didn't think too much about it.
Nah, that can be an honest answer.
curious,
Look at his
just on a very
face.
personal
Oh
level,
my gosh. His
as
face
we
was
look to
looking
ending
for
this
approval.
conversation.
Wait, I gotta go back. He's literally
didn't
looking
think
for
too
like
much about it.
approval. Yeah, look.
I'm curious, just on a very personal level.
Wow.
There's been a lesson in this, and
A lesson.
that
There's more than
what
a
you
lesson.
see as your future at this point. I know you're taking it day to day, obviously.
Yeah, he has to take it day by day.
And I know you're an optimist as well. We've talked about that.
So he doesn't
But
think
what
he'll
do you
go to
think
jail
realistically
or prison. Sorry.
is your future?
Here we go. That's a
So-
very good question.
I want to be helpful wherever I can to regulators, administrators,
repeated that.
internationally who are working to to help FTX's customers, and I want to be helpful wherever I can on anything
that
that
again.
can help bring a lot more value to
Value?
these customers. And
Okay, you don't need to bring any value. You just need to return the money, which you don't have. So that's the hard truth. That is the only truth.
prior to filing, there had been a lot of interest in financing, a lot of fairly strong interest, many billions of dollars worth. I can't make any promises about anything, but I would have thought that there would be, a chance for a pathway forward here that would bring more value to customers than what would happen if you just sort of sold everything else for scraps. And
Well, there's a reason why liquidators have to sell everything off for scraps. Is because they can't find the cash to pay all the people who use your platform.
customers could end up made a lot more whole. I don't know, maybe even fully whole.
Fully whole,
if there
really?
was.
Where are you gonna find the $6 billion?
How would that happen?
He's saying the
So-
same thing.
There have been examples of this before in crypto history where that happened.
Crypto
Obviously,
history.
you can look at what happened with Bitfinex back a number of years ago, where it
I'm
got-
actually not familiar with what happened with Bitfinex, so if someone can educate me, ever since Quadriga CX fell, I sold all my gear and I stopped looking at crypto, which was a mistake. I should have kept going. So leave a comment below. What happened with Bitfinex? If no one tells me, I'll just Google it in my spare time.
Sam, we're going to have to wrap up. And a couple of just quick other questions. One is, given what you know about compliance or the lack of it in this business, in this industry, I think there are a lot of people who are holding crypto today, perhaps on exchanges like Binance and other places.
Yep.
What should they think, given what you do know, and to the extent that you can tell us the truth about what you know?
Okay, so if anything, if I was thinking of starting a crypto exchange, first of all, get a cold wallet for each user and let them actually see the account. Give them the private keys. Give them full access to their own bloody crypto wallet, and have zero access or no method to access their funds. Like that's just common sense. Like you shouldn't be able to, one click of a button, transfer everyone's crypto from their wallet to another wallet. That should not happen at all. There should be no reason for that to happen. Their secret keys shouldn't be used by the exchange as well. Those secret keys should be generated and not stored on the exchange at all. It should just be given to the customers. If they lose it, well, the crypto's gone. Like you can't access it. That's how that secret key works. And I just paused and this guy's smiling. Like, let's see what he says. If he says the same thing, then he knows. But if he says he doesn't know, like, those secret keys have zero access. The exchange should not have it. Owning the user should have it. And that's the actual decentralized tech of blockchain. The centralized system or centralized company doesn't have access to your own funds. Yeah, the fact that there's a backdoor and that he can shuffle funds around through different wallets is already a red flag in the crypto space. It's a huge red flag.
In this business, in this
Why was he
industry,
smiling?
I think there are a lot of people.
And honestly, like that's what I understand. And I didn't even study it that long. I gained that knowledge back when I looked into it in 2017, 2018. But it's very common and basic knowledge in blockchain, in Ethereum, in Bitcoin. It's very basic. And that foundation should be implemented from the start of the inception of the company. Let's see what he says.
In crypto today, perhaps on exchanges like Binance and other places.
Just more transparency. Okay, more transparency and only give customers the secret key. Don't store and hold the secret key on the centralized exchange because there's a pathway to abuse if you have access to their crypto wallets.
Given what you do know, and to the extent that you can tell us the truth
You do know
about what you know.
Why is he smiling? Oh my god, he lost people's life savings and here I am smiling. It's literally that duping smile. See
I
what
can
he
tell you
says.
what I would think as a customer.
He would-
If I were a customer here, which is look
Don't.
for the things that I wish FTX had been able to supply. Things like proof of reserves is helpful. Look for as rigorous of that as you can. Look for regulatory reporting, right? You look at what the JFSA had in place.
Actually, I really love the host's question because he is asking a question that he should have done. That what SBF should have done. This is like an interrogation tactic. It's actually quite funny to see.
You look at what FTX US derivatives had with sort of frequent reporting to regulators of exactly what
is so
customer assets,
cringy
balances,
to watch.
liabilities, distributions.
But I don't understand why is he coming on to talk about all this. Like it just feels like he's trying to save his image, but he doesn't realize he's damaging himself and his group.
What about the governance piece?
Yeah.
What about the governance piece? Because one of the things we have not talked about
Governance,
is you had no
corporate
board,
governance. Yep.
and you had no CFO.
No CFO. That's a
And that
red
should have been
flag.
red flag, frankly, for all of us.
Holy shit. He had no
Interestingly,
CFO.
In some ways, we had too many boards. We had
Too many boards. Oh, it just cut.
Oh goodness. Hopefully, we're going to get him back in
No
just a moment, if we can.
Okay.
yeah.
He's
and
still
you can hear me
smiling.
here?
Yep, we can all hear you.
Global or the board or the function that's in charge of global site customer risk management.
Oh, he's still talking about risk. It's not risk. You needed a CFO to consolidate all the finances, and they chose not to have one. That's a huge red flag.
I want to ask you two final questions.
It's so hard to watch.
Were you truthful with us today?
Good question.
I was as truthful as I.
What? He can't even give a straight yes. He's like, I was truthful as. Oh my gosh.
As
As
knowledgeable to be. There's
knowledgeable to be.
some things I wish I knew more about, but yes, I was.
Now, let me ask you this: do you
He's
agree
looking
that
down.
over time you also lied?
Good question. He has.
Do I-
He had lied. If he lies now, this is a trap question.
believe that I lied.
He has to say yes. If he does
I
not
don't
say
know
yes.
times when I lied. I
Holy-
think. Look, there are certainly times when I was acting as a representative, as a marketer for FTX, and when I was looking for how can I...
Okay, nah. This is plain and simple. He has lied. You know, he tweeted stuff and he took it down. He said assets are fine and it wasn't. Like, there is no gray area whether or not he's lied over time. It's a simple yes, I've lied over time, and he does not want to say it. Like, that's a huge red flag. This ending question is perfect. It's like a trap.
In a way which is truthful.
He's still trying to spin it.
You know, paint FTX as, you know, compelling a way as possible, as exciting.
This is so cringy to watch.
As possible.
Like, yes, you can fluff, and that's legal, right? You can fluff and market, but you can't flat out lie. And he's been caught lying already. He just needed to say yes to this question.
You know, I wasn't talking about what are the risks involved with FTX.
What's a risk? He's still talking about risk.
I obviously wish that I'd spent more time dwelling on the downsides and less time thinking about the upsides.
Sam Bankman-Fried, I want to thank you for this interview.
But very quickly, Andrew Ross Sorkin, like, he did an amazing job. You know, a candid conversation, straight to the point, called him out on the spot with his lies, and at the end, literally asked a very simple question. And, you know, SBF's response to that question is a huge red flag. Extremely huge red flag. Like, he is literally the next Elizabeth Holmes. The next, you know, Adam Newman is interesting because he's on a redemption arc. Maybe he can be redeemed. Elizabeth Holmes was proven to be a fraud. And this video, this interview, first official interview, is the same moment, exactly defining moment of this person lying to the public. After watching and listening to the entire interview, I'm actually really surprised SBF came on to the interview. Because, in my honest opinion, it did him no good coming on. He lied about a few things during the interview. Andrew Ross Sorkin actually called him out a few times. SBF was blabbling. Half the time he wasn't even answering the questions. And he kept repeating himself that it was a mistake. It's all about risk management, when we know it wasn't true. It's about misappropriating customer funds, having access to them, making bets while making bets with customers' money. Whether or not it's a Ponzi scheme, we actually need proof. And there needs to be a proper process. So whether or not he gets charged, we'll see. We don't know. He did buy political influence on both sides. And he spent the same amount on both sides, apparently. So yeah, that's my take on this interview. Again, these are just my opinions and my reactions from what I know and what I've seen from other YouTubers. So take it with a grain of salt. If you agree, leave it in the comments below. So this video that we just watched doesn't actually have any comments. Comments are turned off. I wonder why. Probably there's a lot of hate. Or maybe because it's a news channel. If you want to talk about SBF with me, leave a comment below about FTX or crypto as well. If you want to see more videos about my experience with crypto, let me know in the comments as well. Be sure I'll be following up on this, on the whole SBF and FTX saga, because it's not concluded. It's not concluded until we see what happens to SBF and whether or not he'll keep doing these interviews, because I feel like he's digging himself a deep, deep hole if he keeps appearing publicly and keeps rambling, and if he keeps lying as well. I'll have all the links to the videos I've seen of SBF and FTX. And yeah, you have to watch the one where Coffeezilla 6 months ago actually described SBF explaining something as a Ponzi scheme, because that video has aged extremely well for what has happened in the last month. So yeah, please check that video out, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. Like, comment and subscribe. And to see more user reviews, click that way. Let me know in the comments below what you guys want me to review next.